Who needs this episode all about electrolytes after 50? If you're still drinking those ooey gooey or artificially sweetened drinks to rehydrate, if you're still dropping tablets with chemicals into water to hydrate, and if you're not on a daily basis using electrolytes to your advantage, thinking that you only need them if you're going for a long hike or bike, then this All About Electrolytes podcast is made for you. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top struggles and concerns, but most of all, we hope to inspire you. I share what to eat, how to move, and how to change your mindset so you can have the energy and the vitality that you want, need, and deserve. This episode is definitely about energy and vitality, but specifically energy, kicking fatigue to the curb, which might be helped by what we're about to talk about. And you're going to want to know this. So at the end of the episode, I don't even mention this, but in the show notes today, if you visit, you will get the link to not only try the electrolytes for yourself, but I will give you, our gracious guest gave you a coupon code flipping50 for $10 off. It's a one-time use per person, but there's no expiration date. So you're going to like it. I can tell you that. 14 of us Flipping 50 community members tested it out on the trails here in Arizona. And I think you're going to love it too. So don't forget, you'll want to come to the show notes afterwards and get that. The code will be flipping50, but you're going to want to get to the link so you can try it out. And let's get started. My guest, Bridgit Danner, has been a licensed acupuncturist since 2004 and a certified functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner since 2015. After losing everything to toxic mold, Bridgit now educates about toxins, about how to detoxify with a functional healthcare approach through her online community at bridgitdanner.com. She's also the author of The Ultimate Toxic Mold Recovery Guide. Take back your home, health, and life. Available on Amazon. Bridgit, thanks so much for being here.
Hi, Deborah. Thanks for having me. I'm a repeat guest. I feel really honored.
You're such a repeat guest. And this topic, though, is brand new for us.
Yes.
So we've talked a little bit about mold and we've talked about detox overall and my little bit of history with mold. But today, talking about electrolytes. And for many women who are here, I know that your initial response is probably going to be, well, because I'm in fitness and because, we're working and efforting or training and we're going to need those electrolytes for that. But really, electrolytes, I think, we're going to blow your mind about the way you think about electrolytes going forward today. And I can't wait to unpack that. But I'm going to tell a little backstory. So you launched a new electrolyte product earlier this spring, and it happened to be just about a week before our live Arizona spring break retreat for Flipping 50. And I said, hey, send me another one of those. And I'm going to make sure that everybody has electrolytes in their Camelback when we go hiking. And I was like, fingers crossed it does not, we don't have the heat wave that we had the week after. We got really lucky. But I think still, I didn't relay the information adequately enough that it's not just for a long hike. It's not just for a hike in the heat, but electrolytes for especially midlife women that we're talking to serve such a deeper purpose. So let's unpack that just a little bit. First of all, why? Why did you decide you're going to create an electrolyte?
Yeah. So, I guess you mentioned in my bio, I went through this experience with toxic mold and detoxifying. And I did not learn early in that process that one thing that happens when you're exposed to toxic mold is often that you pee more because you make less of this hormone called antidiuretic hormone. So you're urinating more, you're potentially, losing more minerals that you need. Because hopefully you're also, while you're detoxing, using a sauna, doing coffee enema. Plus, when you're chronically exposed to toxins, it uses up a lot of materials in the body. So I didn't learn that until I had already moved to Arizona as part of my recovery. I was also, obviously living in a place now quite hot. So I was sort of getting into electrolytes because of the reasons you mentioned, being out in the heat and stuff like that. But then I was like, oh, this is actually really important for a detox journey. And there aren't that many great electrolytes on the market. There are a few, but I find that people were always asking us, which electrolytes do you recommend? So we've been wanting to formulate products in a detox line. We decided we'd start with that one. It's hopefully pretty accessible. Lots of people can take it. It's kind of maybe more fun than your usual supplements. So that's how that all got started.
Love it. And actually, I love the packaging. Love the package on the book. The book cover is also just so nice and clean and bright. So I want to recommend the two of them actually to anybody who's thinking about it or who doesn't know you need to be thinking about it. That mold recovery guide is precious. So it's full of great information. And so many times I think the first question is, how do I know if I have it? And it's going to help you with that as well. So let's literally go back a step and answer the basic question, what are electrolytes?
Yeah, I think this is so interesting. We could spend a lot of time, but I think we just hear about them as far as sports, right? I think Gatorade was probably the first big one. And you think about, oh, I guess it replenishes you during sports. So yeah, let's back up a bit. First of all, our bodies are mostly water. People have talked about that. Although there's less as we age, and you talked about midlife women, so we can talk more about kind of how that all changes with age. But it's not just regular water, right? It's body fluids. And they have different materials in them called solutes. And those, create balance, create nourishment, and create certain functionality of the body. So electrolytes are a substance in a solution that can conduct electricity, i.e. the transfer of electrons. And our nerves and muscles especially need electrolytes to perform functions. So it's kind of like energy transfer, and it goes through the electrolyte, so to speak, without getting lost to wherever it's going. So you can see, if you are in a long sporting event or what have you, could be, really needing more electrolytes because you're exercising and you're sweating. So I think that's sort of where it kind of, got discovered or as a common use. But it's really doing this biological process of electron transfer throughout the body. Some of those processes are involved in detoxification, respiration, and then muscles and nerves, like we said. So it's just super interesting to think about what's going on in the body, that we are electrical in a sense, and part of the way that we make energy and move our bodies and react to things has to do with this electron transfer.
Love it. So that said, I do think that, a lot of women are thinking, well, I don't need that. I need to drink more water. I need to be hydrated, but not necessarily realizing potentially the need for electrolytes. So to the woman who's on a walk right now and listening, do I need them? Do I really need electrolytes?
Yeah, I think we definitely need them. I'll talk about different ways you can get them. So let's talk about when to have pure water versus not. One thing I think is interesting in our culture, Deborah, that nobody feels particularly proud of is a lot of us don't like to just drink plain water. We just don't really crave it, actually. I mean, sometimes we do when it's hot, or, I think it's great when you're fasting. I mean, anytime you're adding some kind of sweetness to water, you're breaking a fast. But I think we actually kind of naturally crave having a little something more in the water. And I think the body actually craves it too. So whether you're just squeezing lemon in water or adding a little sea salt, or sometimes I'll put a little cranberry concentrate in my water. I feel like it sort of gives your body more hydration than just plain waters, because we do need these electrolytes. They're, just to list them off, it's sodium, potassium, calcium, bicarbonate, magnesium, chloride, and phosphate. And the two that become most imbalanced are the sodium and potassium. Potassium, high in bananas is why you pass out bananas at, sporting events, that kind of a thing. So we do need these things. So we can get them in things like fruits and vegetables and different foods. That's normally kind of how they're going to come. So in a sense, do we need to take electrolytes separately? I mean, I would say yes and no. Like in theory, no, because if you're eating a wide variety of fruits and vegetables and you're drinking water, and
I'm going to interrupt right there, because I want to address this with anybody who's thinking, well, it's been a really long time since I've had a banana because I'm keeping low carb, or I also don't have orange juice, or I don't have potatoes, other good sources of potassium. So there may be somebody listening who's, eating a certain way or avoiding certain foods, who might be cutting herself off from eating electrolytes. Comment on that?
That's a great point. Yeah, I hadn't even really thought about that. Yeah, I think, we've become very carb conscious in certain circles. And you're right. It can eliminate a lot of foods, like especially fruits. So yeah, that is a good thing to think about. Maybe look at a list of like different food sources of different electrolytes, and are you getting enough? Another on that list is magnesium. And I think the majority of us are deficient in magnesium, because even if we try to eat right, we're just not eating the amount of greens and such to get enough magnesium. And then we tend to burn through things, like if we are exercising or we're detoxing or we're exposed to pollution, which we all are. So yeah, that's a great point, Deborah. And just because I did a glucose monitor recently, and I want to talk a little bit about carbs. Really what I learned from that experience is have things like orange juice and banana early in the day. It's kind of ironic, because I think I learned in my functional medicine kind of journey that we shouldn't have those things in the morning, but your insulin response is way better in the morning, and you can handle those kinds of things. Having an orange juice, no one really has orange juice at 10 p.m., but like any sugars you have in the evening are more going to be a problem. So if you're working out in the evening or I'm sorry, in the morning or not, like you can actually, like I was shocked with my glucose monitor, I could eat a waffle in the morning and it was like no big deal. But if I had rice with dinner, it was a big deal. So it could just be playing with the times of day that you're eating instead of what you're eating. So yeah, that's a great point. And what I was going to say next is like, yeah, in theory, we're getting enough from our diet, but are we really checking? You just came up with a great example there of how we may be missing it. So I like the idea of supplementing electrolytes just like we supplement vitamins and minerals, because we're probably not getting them as much as we want, and we're probably burning them or losing them more than we think. So I really think that there's this subtle benefit that comes from taking electrolytes. I like to take them in the morning. Sometimes I take them before bed too. That it just makes me feel kind of more balanced. So I'm kind of curious other people's feedback as they take our electrolyte, and just see, am I the only one who feels that way? I just feel like to be in your best functional range, you do want to give your body like this constant source of electrolytes, just like other, water soluble vitamins, because it's going to work optimally.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and I think we also have to visit the women or address the women who are fasting, and you kind of alluded to it about breaking a fast. So I'm going to ask you specifically about your product and whether does that break a fast if they're having electrolytes as they fast, or does being on a fast or a long extended fasting period, or even just consistent, even moderate periods of fasting, say we're 12 or 14 hours overnight, does that increase our need for more electrolytes?
That's a good question. I'm not sure having a 12-hour fast, 10-hour fast, which isn't even very long,
Mm-hmm.
would throw you off. But I do feel like, okay, a couple things here. So I like, again, to take electrolytes in the morning because I feel like it's kind of a reset. You have gone a long time, not only without water, but without electrolytes. So I just think it feels good. Technically, it does break a fast
Okay.
if you're trying to stay in fasting. So, like Cynthia Thurlow is someone I like to listen to. There's very few things that can keep you in fasting. It's like green tea and like one other kind of tea.
Black coffee, right? Black coffee and green tea. Yeah.
Yeah, not much. However, I have sort of my own take on fasting that does let you have that. So, technically, yes, if you had this electrolyte, your body's getting a little tiny bit of information that may tiny bit affect, something about your glucose, even though it just has stevia and mango powder. But I'm also a fan of the like pretty close fast. So
yeah, good enough. Good enough is
yeah, so electrolytes. Sometimes I have this drink where I make like lemon and cilantro and like greens, and it's just like a clear drink with a little honey. I consider that part of my good enough fast. So like sometimes I'll do a coffee enema on the weekend, and I'll have one of these different drinks. And yeah, I feel okay about it because I feel like it is at least giving me a little boost. Maybe you could put like broth also in that category. Broth is again a little heartier, but you're still not really, really eating. So I guess it depends how you want the fast to what goal you have with it.
Love it. Okay. Talk to me about, let's talk benefits. So literally electrolytes, how they would benefit a detox or sports energy. And as I say sports, I think probably 96% of our listeners would not say they're like highly competitive with sports. However, I want to say that everyone listening who intentionally is exercising to better themselves, to improve, is quote unquote athletic. And they do want to improve performance. Otherwise, it's for them, improving body composition. It's getting stronger. So I'd lump them into that sports, but also beauty and energy. I mean, how is it helping each of those?
Okay, we'll talk like basic electrolytes and then our formula. So I do think it's like a richer kind of hydration than just water. And when we're richly highly hydrated, we look better. We just do. Our skin is plumper and we just sort of have a glow. I think you see a healthy person who, drinks a lot of fluids and, eats real food. You just have a natural beauty to them. And then in sports, yeah, it can kind of, or exercise, it can kind of keep things firing. It can keep, when you think about that electron transfer and like the energy going on there, a lot of people in midlife, including me, I think one of our biggest complaints is we're not as energetic as we used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice, safe way. Like you're not having a coffee, you're not having a muffin. You're just having a little electrolytes to just kind of rebalance you. When you have that like afternoon slump can be another time to have them. You're often a little dehydrated by the afternoon. So getting some electrolytes in is good there. And then our formula has a lot more for any kind of active person or kind of anybody in modern life. So inactivity, you do create oxidative damage. Exercise is great, but
Mm-hmm.
it does create some damage in the process of all this like muscle activity and all that. So getting antioxidants is a great way to recover from a workout or prepare for a workout. I don't think many people think about this, but it's pretty awesome, actually. Like, I don't know what weightlifters think about like creatine and this and that. Maybe Deborah, is there any conversation happening that we also in that routine need to supplement with antioxidants?
It's an interesting conversation. Literally, I just did it this week. We delivered part 1 and part 2 of, how to be older fitter, stronger, as opposed to weaker and sicker, and looked at the exercise and we looked at the exercise nutrition. The interesting thing about supplementing with antioxidants is the timing of them. Like, do take them, but don't take them right after exercise because you inhibit your body's own natural ability to create its own and have that immune response and create its own antioxidant defenses. So it does suggest, yeah, like CE, fish oils, all fell under that category. Like, yep, we need them, do take them, but just give your body a chance to do it for itself first, and then take them away from the exercise.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to look into that more. One thing I learned from Datis Karazian that he suggested was taking a certain antioxidant before you work out. If you really have trouble working out, like a lot of people who have chronic disease get, sore for 2 days from working out. That is poor antioxidant status. It's kind of what you just described. It's like they cannot do it on their own. They can't handle the oxidative stress being presented. So I'll have to look more into the timing. So that's good to know. It doesn't necessarily have to be right after. I'd be curious if there's other sources that like the just before, like he does, or if that's only for special populations.
Yeah, it is really interesting. I mean, the researchers literally were saying, so sorry, smoothie lovers, right? Which, I've been one who's always done this, like put avocado in your smoothie, put a little cinnamon in your smoothie afterward, because these are antioxidants. And they're suggesting, no, reduce those, do it later, but not necessarily in immediate proximity. So I don't know. So raises a good question. And, I think we're always in school. So listeners, we don't proclaim to have all the answers, but we will give you all the questions. How's that?
Yeah, it can definitely feel like stressful. I actually feel better about it in a sense that like I have been going to the gym now, like rejoined the gym during COVID. So about a year, and I'm not really on a routine, so to speak. And I like what you teach in your videos and what you're telling me now, because I just kind of go when I feel like going, and there isn't any kind of big routine about leg day or doing a smoothie afterwards. And I kind of got from your lessons, like, that's okay for women, like just that overall quick workout, the kind of goofy workout I do at the gym. I was like, yes, that's okay.
I have to tell you that the other day I made a post about some lower body exercises, kind of looking at squats and lunges lately, safely done. And I made a typo. Instead of leg day, I typed keg day.
That's for Saturday, I guess.
Right, evidently.
That's so funny.
Such an interesting ride that we have, yes.
Okay, that sidebar for that. But yes, so I have antioxidants in the formula. Apparently don't take them after you work out. I also have some B vitamins and vitamin C, which support different stages and aspects of detoxification. So these are all water soluble vitamins. We lose them. So we need them every day. I didn't make most of the amounts crazy high because I hope you are taking also a multivitamin. But I did make the vitamin C fairly high because we can handle quite a bit of it. So getting an extra dose of vitamin C, good for immunity, good for adrenals, and it's actually beneficial for a bunch of different detox processes. These little micronutrients, they don't get their full credit, in my opinion. There's so many things they do in the body. People think, well, what should I do for my liver? And they don't ever think, well, I just take, taking my multivitamin helps my liver. People don't usually think about that, but they do. Especially the B vitamins are very active with hormone production and carbohydrate metabolism, and they're needed for a lot of different steps in detox. So I kind of just from my own research included different Bs and antioxidants that are especially helpful for my mold sick folks. But really, we're all dealing with toxins. We're all dealing with, pollution. you don't have to live by a factory to be exposed to a lot of stuff these days. We run some urine tests, and we commonly see jet fuel additive, gasoline additive, different like glues and stuff you wouldn't even know how you got exposed. We're all being exposed to. So when I call this, it's called My Detox Electrolytes. It's kind of a strange concept or a new concept to marry the two things. But I was sort of like, well, it's already a good idea to take electrolytes. And why don't we give you some extra things to just support daily detox? So it's sort of a 2-for-1 in this product.
Yeah. And I love that, actually. I mean, it's like, if you already have a habit going, then why not just amplify it a little bit? But I also want to say, taste wise, it's, I think we started with this and I didn't come full circle back around to it, but definitely I notice when I'm out and I've got a Camelback on, you kind of get water fatigue, right? I mean, you're just not that inclined to drink it, but when you're maybe halfway through, a hike and it's got a little sodium in it, your body starts to actually crave it, and then it's more desirable to drink more of it. And that, I think, is the ticket for all of us, is figuring out how do we stay motivated to stay on schedule and want to drink it. And that's what all of the ladies during the retreat. So day one, at the beginning, I said, okay, I've got this sample of electrolytes. I said, this is not your kids' electrolytes. Let me, I'll give anybody a scoop who wants to put it in. I said, here it is. I'm carrying this baggie out there. And I said, I haven't touched it. I'm just going to grab the scoop here. And then day 2 and 3, everybody was like, yep, I want that again. So we had repeat customers and everybody agreeing. It just made it easier to drink, and it was a really pleasant, light taste. So definitely, if you're thinking this is something like your kid's ooey gooey drink, it's definitely not that.
Yeah, although it is good for kids.
Right. Better,
because kids are picky too, right?
Yeah.
Kids don't really always like water, so you just do a smaller dose for kids. But yeah, I agree. I really fussed with the flavor for a long time. Some people in my community are very sensitive, and they can't handle the vitamin C, or they don't do stevia, and I may do one that's sort of stripped of more things in the future. But I think for most folks, I just tried to make it so that whether you were sort of healthy and don't do a lot of sweets, or you're just sort of a regular guy who likes to work out, that it was sort of, I tried to find the happy medium where, it had some flavor and sweetness, but it wasn't over the top.
Yeah, I think you did great with it. I love it. Okay, so I've got a question. So just to be clear for a listener who, isn't sure, do I need this or this one more thing? I think just to call out the elephant in the room to those of you who are listening, I don't know anybody who gets up in the morning and says, gosh, I want to find another supplement that I can take today. Right? So I totally understand if you're like on overwhelm, but we're really looking at this as if, think of all the other things you either are doing or aren't doing that might be depleting you of your electrolytes, and how valuable this is to your just everyday health. So Bridgit, if you could say, what might be signs or symptoms that a woman would definitely benefit from electrolytes?
So, yeah, I'll kind of say, like I said earlier, that, in theory, we can get it from food. Real severe electrolyte deficiency looks severe, right? Like you need an IV, and like you got lost in the desert type of thing, and now you're in big trouble. But there's more subtle signs. I think that like little leg cramps and like muscle twitching can be one of them. Just your brain being a little foggy, just being kind of tired, can be signs. Let me try to think of some more kind of subtle signs. and feel free to hop in too.
Well, I love that you said leg cramps because that one will come up frequently, and sometimes it's the night leg cramp sleeping, but other times no, it's like doing that darn hamstring curl with the ball. And everybody's like, my calf is cramping. What is that all about? So there are lots of women listening for whom that probably is applicable.
Yeah, I think so. And it's been more for me since I got exposed to mold / got in my 40s. So sometimes I don't know, is it hormones or is it minerals or it, it all gets a little harder to manage at this age. But I feel like it's a really nice tool to have in your toolbox for that. And then, just different uses. Like you said, do we really need it? I really like it for traveling because it encourages me to stay more hydrated on the plane. And then it's got vitamin C and different antioxidants for immunity. So sometimes I don't want to bring my whole herbal, supplement regimen when I travel. So lately I just bring that. And if I have it once or twice a day, I feel like, at least I'm hitting some basics and, I'm hydrating more. So I think that's one use. If you don't like to drink water that much and you really know you probably don't get enough, this is a great way to get more, and for your kids too. And then I don't know how many of your listeners do sauna, but I know your listeners are sweating. And, you are going to lose electrolytes in those activities. So, every time I go to the gym, I rarely bring water. Sometimes if I'm just in the mood for it. But, usually I'll do my little scoop of electrolyte and go. And, I just feel like I'm having a little richer experience that way.
Yeah, totally agree. I love it. Love those. And just, summarizing and coming back to, what points to you needing one, probably just having a heartbeat really probably indicates most of us need some more electrolytes in our lives because we're not, generally every single day probably hitting all of our vitamin and mineral nutrient needs through food alone. Yeah.
And like you said, if you're not having orange juice and bananas, there's one way you're not getting it.
So true. Where can people learn more about your books, blogs, products?
Yeah, our shop is about to move. So I'll just tell you the name of my main site, which is my own name, bridgitdanner.com. And we've got different articles on there too and free ebooks. If you're curious about detox or anything we chatted about today.
Yeah, and she's a wealth of information, by the way. And if you're not already following her on Instagram, she's just always coming on doing some education and talking about certain testing or talking about certain products or nutrients, why you'd want to be taking them and what's different and unique and the benefits of them. So her link on Instagram is also going to be in the show notes. And I will put a link down below too, so you can try the electrolytes out for yourself. And we were approaching summer season, everybody. So, get out there and have some fun, but make sure you're feeling good and energetic while you're doing it. And after that, you recharge so you can do it again. Bridgit, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Deborah.
Okay, guys, so now it's your turn. If there's a question that you wish I would have asked her that I did not, you can put that below the show notes. I love to hear from you. And it will be flipping50.com/all about electrolytes. And what are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 today.